Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's all right.
Hello, Fortitude audience. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm your host, Heather Kittleson, and I have my husband, Amos, here with me as the co-host.
Hello.
Today we have Jessi and Reid Johnson in our studio with us, and they are fabulous friends who we adore. So thank you for being here today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Your story, I've been intrigued since we attended your wedding, which was also that whole, and you guys had fireworks at your wedding.
Yeah.
Inside, mind I add. But
that you didn't know about, did you? Were they a surprise to you?
That was a surprise. Yeah.
Yes.
They said, we have a surprise for you at some point. Just go ahead and do your thing and don't be expecting anything. And all of a sudden we're in our dance that we had prepared for months. And all of a sudden, boom, there they go off.
Fireworks. I'm looking for a fire extinguisher going, is this expected?
right. And hopefully no one is standing over one of them because that could have been brutal. Your story about like just the Brady Bunch, right? Like you guys get referred to as the Brady Bunch. Explain who you are today, and then we'll lead into both your guys' backstories.
Okay, I'm Reid Johnson. My wife Jessi and I and our 7 kids live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We are a blended family. Jessi and I met a handful of years ago, and we each had 3 kids, kind of both to our surprises. And one thing led to another, and a few years later after that, ended up getting married, and we're blessed to have you guys at it. But that's kind of our world. Obviously, we do things. We go to work. We have social lives, but our kids are our world right now.
Yeah, because you just added. So you had the 6, and then you just had little Rowan,
Yes.
who is a huge blessing because you guys got to see what one looks like that you made, which is so special.
Yeah, and seeing the rest of our kids and how much they love him, adore him, and just all of them together is special.
Yeah, it is.
And that's one thing I probably didn't anticipate as much was the love and adoration that they were going to have for him.
Yeah.
They're irritated if they come home and he's napping.
Going to a nap,
Going to a nap. If it's about...
They're like, is he going to sleep?
Oh, because the joy is reciprocated, right? Like it. Did I say that right?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you. Sometimes I'll say words and Amos will be like, nope, that wasn't right. But just it's back and forth. It's so beautiful to watch because when I came to your guys' house to see Rowan and meet him and just to watch your kids and how they like just the smiles and the joy that each other brings to each other is really neat.
Yeah.
So,
and a little bit more just about the kids. 5 of them are teenagers. So we're going through that right now, which can be heavy at times, but teenagers really coming together with him being kind of a focal point where like we'd have dinner and a lot of times they just scatter to their rooms or wherever to go drive off somewhere. But it became a thing where they'd get done with dinner and they'd wander off, but they'd wander to where he was. If he's hanging out in the living room in his little bouncer thing, they'd all congregate and hover and argue about who gets him and how long, which was great to see.
Oh, and a bunch of helpers. So it's not like a newborn that is consuming your new marriage. You know what I mean? Because that was for us in the very beginning. We had Brittany right away, but you guys have older kids to help and take care of and love them, so you guys can go still do date night and things like that, which is nice. So the story of adoption in our society, there's a lot that encompasses that. The struggles of it, the financial of it, all of the things. And I want to really speak into your life, Reid, and then Jessi, we'll get to you in just a second on the way you were brought up. But explain a little bit about how you were raised, where you come from, and the life that you, I guess, led as a kid.
Yeah. So adoption is kind of a key word here that is a theme throughout our conversation today. And I was put up for adoption immediately after being born and was in a foster home for just a brief time, about a month. And then my parents, Dave and Jan, had gone through the adoption process and got lined up with me. So yeah, pretty soon after I was born, they picked me up, and I went through Lutheran Social Services for that.
So it is local. Like
yes.
it was a local adoption.
Yep, local adoption. And that's it. That was my life. I didn't know any different. And I don't know exactly a time when I knew that I was adopted. It just is probably one of an earlier memories that just kind of came about. But they were always my parents. I didn't know any different. I do remember I had a book that was, I think, entitled "Why Was I Adopted?" So I know my parents were, going through that with me and explaining to me at a young age.
Okay.
But yeah, had a great upbringing, and there was always a curiosity that these are my parents and I love them and they love me very much. But there was always a little curiosity out there, like, are they across the street? I might have thought that when I was younger. Are they, in a town close by? Are they hundreds of miles away? I don't know. There was always a little curiosity there, and because of that, I think growing up, I thought someday I'll reach out and try to find my biological family and see what's up with that.
So how old were you when your parents told you?
I was probably about the 5, 6 age, right around there.
Okay. Did it make sense to you?
Yeah, I'm kind of a go with the flow type of person. I guess I always have been. So there wasn't a big old storming out and any weird thing like that. It was just, okay, that's what it is. And even with that knowledge, didn't look at my parents any different because they had unconditional love for me and gave me a really good upbringing.
That's really neat, Reid, because there's the opposite. There's the opposite stories of once a child has found out that they are adopted, they actually resent their parents and they're upset and they feel like they've been betrayed. So that is a common thing. The fact that you did not feel any of those thoughts, when we first talked about it, I was blown away by that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that might have been my personality a little bit, like I said, but also with having loving parents that wanted to nurture a good upbringing for me, I'm sure. And with my mother being a teacher and kind of know how to explain things very well, that probably helped.
Yeah, your parents are fabulous.
Yeah. And I think, too, probably starting that conversation early on.
Yeah.
Rather than, sometimes people wait until they're 18 and here, you're adopted or.
It's probably a lot easier to feel like you've been lied to.
Yeah. If you're older.
If people might say or feel that way. Yeah.
It's great advice for our listeners who may be considering adoption or have adopted and have not yet shared with their kids. So you're saying that it's probably a good idea to start them out younger than wait until they're older.
Yeah, early on. They're still learning so many things as it is that just go ahead and throw that right in there with them and hope it'll be all right.
And show them nothing but love.
Yep.
Right?
That was this is how you pour the milk. This is how you hold it. Oh, by the way, you're adopted. This is how you close the cereal bag.
And
just
your
throw it right in
here
there
somewhere one day. So you were adopted, but then you also got a brother.
I did. So not long after I found out I was adopted, just within a couple years, my parents made a very big decision to travel to Romania in the early 90s and seek adoption there as well. And I can't, being a parent, I can't imagine doing this. I was 7 years old and they took me with, got me out of school. Was at the beginning of the school year, October, November timeframe. And I went with them for 2 weeks to Romania. And you want to talk about an eye-opening experience.
And you're in first grade.
Yeah, I'm in first grade, growing up in a very small bubble, living in Esteline, South Dakota, population around 700, going, first plane ride, it's overseas, and you get off that plane, and it is extremely eye-opening. I knew it was, we're going on a trip, we're going to, get a brother for you. Yay. That's kind of all I was thinking at the time. But to see a different world at that young of an age was quite the experience.
Was it culture? Was it poverty? What were you seeing? What was the biggest difference?
Definitely culture and poverty. The poverty was tough to see. I was in a good, stable home, good small little town in eastern South Dakota, and had what I needed. And then to get out and walk through the streets and see kids that are homeless and to kind of walk by them. And I'm sure I was staring at everything, looking at everything as kids do, which is curious, which is totally normal. And to look at some kids in the eyes and, see the little bit of, despair, and that's just with them constantly. Mm-hmm. And, here I am running in, I'm going to get a new brother and the world is great. And, it brought me down a little bit, but kind of was eye-opening to what the world has outside of my small little area in South Dakota.
Amazing.
And your brother, it was little, like he was a baby. Yeah,
he was 6-7 months when we traveled over there, and my father Dave stayed an extra 2 weeks. So my mom and I traveled back after the first 2 weeks, and he stayed an extra 2 weeks to kind of go through the adoption process and finalize that. So yeah, he was just a few months old when we got him.
How did you receive having a brother?
It was pretty cool. Can only hang around with my parents for so long. So to have someone else in the house to be able to jump and bounce around with was pretty neat. We are 7 years apart, so a little bit of an age difference there, but it was fun. It was great to have another brother, be able to wrestle with and throw around and torment was excellent.
Oh man. So as you're growing up with your brother and your parents, you're adopted, and you have this little bit of curiosity of who your birth mom might be and birth dad might be.
Yep.
You did get the opportunity to meet them, and your mom is really in your life, which is, so explain that a little bit, because you brought in some pictures, and we can possibly put a few out there for people to see that are also listening. But
yeah, like I said, growing up, there was always the curiosity out there that sometimes, and when I'm an adult, I'll reach out and see if I can find them. And when I was 18, I needed to have surgery, and so doctors needed to find out if I was allergic to any anesthesia, any medications, drugs like that. So we needed to find the biological family. So my dad picked up the phone, and in a very short time found out through some contacts who my biological family was. So we got what we needed to out of that, but then there was the additional, hey, do you want to meet them? We can do it. And I said, yeah, let's do it. I was just about 18 years old, and I think was at a mature enough point in my life that maybe years earlier than that, I wouldn't have been. And it was more than I thought it was going to be. Like I said, when I imagine that I've got a biological family out there, I don't know what that means. I don't know if they're together, if there's other siblings involved, how far away they are, if it's going to be a meetup one time and then I never see them again. Yeah. I just didn't know. So to find out that they were living in Menno, South Dakota, which was just a couple hours away from Estelhen, where I was growing up, was fantastic. Yeah. We met in Sioux Falls, South Dakota at the country club, and it was, you mentioned fireworks earlier. It was fireworks when we met. I wrote a paper when I was in college at University of Sioux Falls about this, and equated it to, when you are getting ready for Christmas and you see the tree there and there's presents under and your name is on it, and you just can't wait the week and a half to rip it open and see what's inside. I had been waiting for 18 years for that moment. So that day at the country club, when they walked through those doors, it was like opening a million Christmas presents that I've been waiting years to open.
Was it as easy as that, making the contact? Did it, I understand that there's some legal boundaries there, right? Was it just simply, we need this for medical? They said, here's the data. And it just, what did that look like?
Yeah, I think it might have been that easy. I don't know. I do have, because I keep everything, my dad's scratch pad where he wrote down things about my biological parents. And so through the conversation, I'm not sure how much he went through kind of his context that he knew, or how much went through Lutheran Social Services, but it was pretty easy. And that was 20 years ago. So I don't know how much the privacy rules and any of that has changed, but it was pretty easy, which was very fortunate. It wasn't a long drawn out process for us.
Wow.
And so it wasn't just your mom and dad who walked through the door.
Yeah.
You had a few siblings, more siblings that came through.
Yeah. I have a full biological brother named Macon, and he's 8 years younger than me. And then I have 2 twin half sisters as well. And they were just shy of 1 year old when we met.
Man.
So, and they all live around in the area. We hang out frequently. And it's great seeing them every time. It's fantastic.
Something you said to me about your mom, which it really resonated with me of like, wow, because you hear both sides of the story. And what's neat about the two of you is that you have both sides of the story. Like literally sitting in front of us right now is a mom who was like, you know what, I am too young and I want to make sure that this baby has a life that is beautiful. And so the selflessness to hand a baby over to another family to raise you was that's not a small decision at all. And then Jessi, you also get pregnant at age 16 and you did the opposite where you chose to keep this beautiful baby girl.
Yes.
So can you go into that a little bit for me?
Yeah, you said I got pregnant at 16. And honestly, she saved my life.
Okay.
I was headed down a dark path for a few years prior to that. And if it weren't for her, I can't say that I'd be where I am today. Choosing to keep her was not, I guess I don't ever remember really that being a question of, am I keeping her or am I not?
Okay.
And I don't know all the ins and outs of the decision that Reid's mom made. But for me, I think it was an easy choice because I had such an incredible support system.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's all right.
Trying not to cry all morning already. I sat down and told my mom, and she didn't get upset. She didn't yell at me. She cried.
Yeah.
It was basically we need to set up an appointment.
Yeah.
Right?
So the next day, then she handed me a printed out list of providers that were in network and said, choose one and make an appointment, and did that. And then 9 months later had Eliza, and she's been a blessing ever since.
She is. She's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Jessi, what was it like in school? You know, you hear of teen pregnancies in school, and there's it can be so hard for you as the teen pregnancy and the rumors and the people talking about you and all the things. Or was it not like that for you? I think
that's what I was going to say. I don't, people are always, when they hear, I was a mom at 16, that must have been so hard. I don't remember it being hard.
Okay.
And again, I think it was because I had that support system. I had my mom and my grandparents. I never, up until Reid and I met, I never lived more than 2 miles from my mom or my grandparents.
Okay.
And they were a tremendous help. My mom and my grandparents both watched Eliza for me so that I could graduate with my class. Yeah. I was able to walk at graduation day with my class. And I did end up going to an alternative school. So I went like half days. I went just like 8 to 1, Monday through Thursday. And the people there too, just so supportive. Still, years later, went back to thank the teachers that I had there for being so supportive of me and making it so that helping me succeed. So,
gosh, I love that.
Because I don't know that I would have done it without them. So, yeah.
So a supportive system, like just wrapping your arms around them, whether they're your family or not, because we all have choices. We all make choice. We all choose to do certain things, right? And it's like sometimes the outcome can be really, really, really hard. But it was not necessarily for you, which because you had people that just loved on you. I mean, that is so special.
Yeah. There were friendships that were lost, obviously, because I no longer had the same interests. I was in this mom now. I was full-time mom, and I'm doing whatever I needed to do to prove to whoever I needed to prove to that that I could do this.
Yeah. So, and you did it.
It's amazing. When she gave you that list of providers and said, you make the call, was that normal for her to put the ball in your lap to let you take care of things? Or did that start that day?
My mom was a single mom. So that like independence, I think that was the norm for her.
Yeah.
So it was, I mean, I guess I don't know how I'd want to explain that.
She was comfortable with you. Like she did her work and homework.
She knew that she raised a strong woman at this point, because that's what I had become now. But
How many siblings?
I have one sister.
And younger?
She's older. She's 3 years older than me.
Okay. I had that backwards. So she was already out of the house. So you were...
She was. My sister went, she went to a kind of an alternative school as well. She struggled a lot in school. So she went and lived on the other side of the state. And so she was not living at home with us at the time. But,
okay.
Yeah.
So I think back to just you as a sweet mom at 16, like, and your daughter, I mean, if you go full circle now, you are raising her, and then you ended up staying with that individual and had a couple more kids. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we had 2 more, Carissa and Daniel.
Yeah.
And so we were together for about 13 years.
Okay.
After that.
And that did not work. Thank you, Jesus, because Reid is sitting next to you, and you couldn't ask for a more perfect.
Yeah.
Like it's, because I had been married previously, and it's so interesting because when you step out of that and you're like, Lord, I know that I deserve something that I don't even know or how to even comprehend it, right? And then you get it, and you almost like, I mean, you look at these 2 guys and the way that God delivers, because he never, ever lets us down, right? Like, and so you fight and you fight and you fight, and you're going to make it work. And then you're like, but it's not working. Like, it's not. And so to release that, now you're a single mom of 3 little kids.
Yep.
How did you handle that, Jessi?
Gosh. I almost think it was empowering for me. I lost so much of myself in those 13 years. And now I was going to get it back.
Yeah.
So, gosh, I was not going to cry. Like you said, the fight, like you fight for so long. And then it was trying to overcome the anger that I had for what I lost. Yeah. And that's still a struggle, but
I think that builds an appreciation for what we have now as well, having gone through the struggle.
Yeah.
And Heather, you're not celebrating divorce.
No.
What's exciting, we don't get that. There's a lot to that biblically. What you're getting at is that the emotional side of the release of what you went through afterwards. And that's wonderful to regain yourself, the person that God made you to be.
Yeah, because you lose a lot of that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sacrifice. Yes, so you are correct. Thank you for...
And Jessi hadn't been married before, but really, I mean, if she's not going to say it, I am really tried to make it a family with the same father and the 3 kids, and really tried to make it work, obviously, for years, because there's a good age gap between Eliza to Carissa to Daniel. There's a good age gap there, but it came to a point.
Yeah. So, Reid, with your 3 kiddos, there was a moment in your life where you also went through some tough stuff. We don't have to get into that, but I do want to talk about the day that the 2 of you met, unless you would like to speak into any of...
It's a somewhat similar. 3 kids. They were quite a bit closer in age. I think next year they will all be in high school. My 3 boys will have a senior, a junior, and a freshman. Of those 3 boys, so they are close in age. And when it didn't work out with their mother and I, we split up for a while and kind of went through that and decided eventually to make it permanent. And that was tough for all, but we've had good conversations. Their mother and I have a good relationship with myself. Jessi and her probably even have a better one than she and I do. But that has all turned out very well now. But that was tough.
Yeah.
The drop-offs and pickups and arranging things and see you in 2 days or 5 days or a week or whatever our schedule was at the time. That's tough.
It is.
We tried to make it the best that it could for the boys at the time. And, early on, it's kind of try to distract them from, the situation that's going on while they're young. But also, hey, we have rules and it's not just a free-for-all around here and we can't have ice cream and jelly beans for dinner every night. But we did that a couple times. Right?
Yeah, come on.
Ice cream and jelly beans.
Yep. So at the time, I had been sharing custody. So it was kind of a 50-50 type of thing. So there was a little bit of downtime every once in a while that I had to go out and have the chance to meet someone.
Mm-hmm. So we met at the library.
Do you know that's where our first date was? Did I ever tell you that?
Library
Which
library bar.
Is the bar.
The library
Yeah,
bar.
here in Sioux Falls.
Not the one with books, yes.
Right.
Yeah, because the day that we went, or we actually officially met at, it was a chamber mixer, which was just right across the interstate. And so he asked me if I wanted to hang out for a little bit. And that's where we went, was the library. So you're sitting up in a chair, and the chair next to you just happened to be open. And did Jessi not come in and sit right down next to you? Is that how it worked?
Yeah, I was
tell
there.
his
I'm going
version
to
of
tell
the
the
story.
version of the story.
Already we're seeing there's two different versions apparently.
Up at the bar, I was at the corner, and then my brother Ethan and our friend Herschel were sitting on kind of the other end of the corner, and we're just talking. And I go to the bathroom and come back, and this one is sitting right next to me. Give her a quick glance, notice the obvious attractiveness, and then I continue my side conversation with the guys. And they're thinking I'm an idiot. Like, why are you talking to us? And they're pushing me to talk to her.
Nice.
And I'm like,
friends.
guys,
Good
just
friends.
chill out. I'll get to it. Relax.
Yeah.
And our friend Herschel, who is not afraid to speak his mind, comes around the side and starts talking me up, talking to Jessi, and I'm thoroughly embarrassed by it.
Yep.
So
I thought you were going to tell the version where you said I came in and scoped out the cutest guy in the bar and then waited for you to go to the bathroom and then came and sat next to you.
yeah, what she said, that's
That's
what
what
happened.
he-
That's her
that's what he thinks
recollection, clearly.
But you hadn't had anything to eat. So you were like,
Oh, no. I was hungry, okay?
Okay.
And he asked me what I was going to do. I was like, probably I'm just going to get something to eat and then go home. And he's like, well, the food here sucks.
And I'm hungry too.
And I'm hungry too. So do you want to go somewhere else? And I didn't know this at the time, but he had just eaten there. And
Lie
the food
number
there
one.
does not suck.
Lie number 2.
the food there does not suck, no.
This was just, let's go somewhere else. So we ended up going to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yep. Just the two of us.
Yeah.
Said, see you later,
It
guys.
was, like 7 minutes after meeting each other, went on our first date.
You didn't know my name?
I
right?
did not know his name.
Were you there with friends, Jessi?
No, I was supposed to be meeting a friend and her babysitter fell through. So, but I lived out in Colton still. So by the time I got to Sioux Falls, I'm like, I'm already here.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get a drink, get something to eat, and then I'll go home. And then we ended up closing down B-Dubs.
That is so fun. That is so
Yeah.
fun.
So
And the way that we found out about each other's kids, I had my phone sitting on the table and I got a notification, and I think my background picture was my 3 boys, and it's bright and clear as day. And I'm thinking, okay, she saw that. She saw my phone light up. Probably just looked at it. And so, all right, now's the time to get into it. So I said, hey, I have something to tell you, kind of big here. I have 3 kids. And she said,
well, so do I. And I know a lot of people might have been like, all right, see you later.
Yeah, that's fun.
Check,
That might be
please.
a little bit too much, but no,
a very obvious, the most obvious common ground.
yeah.
Oh,
Not just having kids, but for us each to have 3 kids.
yeah. Yeah. So it was pretty apparent. And it was like you guys, there was an instant connection with the two of you. What I love the most is that you guys have so much joy, and regardless of whatever situation that you came from, you have this beautiful, optimistic, like, this is great. There's no, it was never a bad, like, because you hear when people separate and have children involved. I actually had Jacob referred to as baggage when I was a single mom. And that was a big old no way. These are the biggest, beautiful like, there's such a blessing. And you have come together, the two of you, and you have like brought your 6 children together to love each other, to love each, like, this is Reid and this is going to be, he's a big part of your life. Same. Like, you guys you mingled it together, and the expectations from the very beginning were set.
Yeah.
And beautiful. I don't think that that's a common thing.
Wow. And it all happened very quickly too. We were we moved in together less than a year of meeting each other through a series of unfortunate events, or a bunch of blessings in disguise, however you want to look at it. I ended up needing a place to stay. The furnace broke down in my house in the middle of winter, and I obviously couldn't stay there, couldn't get it fixed. I was, a single mom working a part-time job.
Yeah.
And so he
said, come on in. We have no space, but come on in.
Reid, you have such a patriarch. That's something I've always admired from day one of us meeting. You are so organized. You, like, if anyone ever picked on anyone that Reid loves, Reid would jump in 2 seconds and have your back. Like, the way that your parents raised you, you are so solid. Like, you're just a solid individual, and you will go out of your way for anyone. And I've always loved that about you, being your friend. And then to meet Jessi, and just, I can't even imagine the thrill that you had as a man to be able to take care of someone who really has never been taken care of. Gosh, now I can cry.
There was a fun awkwardness at times when, even early on when we were dating, and sometimes it still happens now. She's making supper and I'm kind of looking around, what can I help with? And she's just pinballing all over, doing this pan to over to here, cutting this up, and then bumps into me because not used to someone else helping out in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So
what were your biggest parenting revelations coming together after you guys got married?
I think that kids are resilient. I know that we just spoke about moving in together. I was living in Sioux Falls, so that kind of required, we did a little trial period to begin with, where furnace had broken down, needed a place to stay, and Jessi and the 3 kids moved in. And there was a little bit of worry with that. Like, the kids all know each other. They've hung out, but what's it going to be like with sharing bathrooms and cleaning up after each other? And they just kind of rolled with it. So, allowing kids to, I don't know if purposely put them in tough situations, but know that if they are, they can be resilient, again, through explanation and clarification and a lot of love. Learned a lot from that.
Well, and I bet from your kids, Jessi, they were just excited to have maybe a really responsible, awesome dad figure in their life. And, at your wedding, just watching the dynamic between all your children. I mean, because you guys had your wedding, I wasn't even going to go here, and I hope we have time for this, but you planned to get married, and your date was set right in the beginning of COVID.
Yes.
Yeah. So you guys had to, like, you were ready to get married, to do this, to have a family all behind one house, and bam, COVID hits, and you had to scramble. And you had everything planned because you're also organized for the wedding, and like you were doing all decorations and all the stuff. So
I made my own wedding cake.
yeah, you made your own wedding cake, and it was so beautiful.
You did, really?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that like 4-tier, 17-layer cake in the front of the wedding. Yeah, I made that.
There are pictures from the moving process of this,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
That's ambitious.
Yeah.
terrifying.
Or stubborn.
Are you glad you did that?
Yeah, I am. It wasn't perfect, but like I did that.
Yeah,
So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I did all of that.
it was really good.
Yeah.
As you've got all these kids at the house, you've got a wedding, and then this is on top, and you're glad you did that.
Yeah.
What I'm sure the people in the audience going, "You crazy?"
I might be a
Well,
little
you
bit.
are a little bit, which
Yeah.
is why I love
Yeah.
you.
But I love the fact that you just said that, like, you're glad you did that. So I think that's something that people need to hear. That you can go through that period and it not to be stressful. You can add, do some of those things that make it special.
Yeah.
You probably weren't like in the moment with everything that was going on. You're probably like, why am I doing this?
Honestly, it was kind of funny because I had to move the cake and I didn't, in my head, I thought it would be easier to put it together there and move it all in one piece. It probably would have been easier to move it in separate pieces and put it together there. However, Eliza, my oldest, and 2 friends helped me move the cake. And so there's these pictures of me sitting in the back of the car holding this giant spool in the middle of the cake. And while they're, and then they shut the back hatch and we drive over to the district.
Oh,
And
man.
so, I mean, it was fun. It was stressful, yes, but it's still like we were laughing about it and in the moment too. So
You two are so in love that you did not let COVID
no,
stop it, which is so, I love this because you went through with the wedding. You didn't have the big
Yes,
wedding.
Yeah.
But
So we have been married 2 and 3 years because we had a COVID wedding.
just so everyone heard that. It was, we have been married for 2 and 3 years.
Yes.
So is that total up to 5 or where is it? Where are we going with it?
I mean, yeah.
We just
Yeah.
have more celebrations.
Yeah,
Sounds
so we
nice.
had a small, very intimate outdoor ceremony in his aunt and uncle's backyard in 2020 because we weren't going to let it ruin it for us. We were ready. We wanted to be married.
We still kind of like everybody had their dresses and
I bought
suits.
a second dress.
Yep. And she wasn't mad about it either.
No.
But we still had an outdoor ceremony. We still had a small gathering of parents. I don't know how many, 30 people maybe there were in attendance at this outdoor wedding. Yeah. We still had a videographer. We still had the one thing I wanted at the wedding. We had a violinist. She still came and played for us.
Yeah.
And we did that, and it was a great, beautiful day. We still had a reception. We both work at Bank here in Sioux Falls, and the basement is just completely wide open. There's nothing down there at all. So we had a nice meal and used our decorations that some of them that we had planned for the big shindig. And we decorated the whole basement. There were lights everywhere strung up, and we might have broken a few bulbs trying to hang them up, but
That's all right.
and we had a dance. We had a former coworker was a DJ. So
you got
everything was.
I got 2 weddings.
You got 2 weddings.
I got the
Jessi.
small, intimate, outdoor wedding that I wanted, as well as the big party with all the people that we love.
That's cool. Which one
So
were we
witness
at?
it. You guys were at the big one.
We were at the 2.
Well, we're at the second one or the first one?
The second one.
The second one.
Yeah.
Why was it, how much, I'm just losing my words here. You said you got the big one that you wanted. Was it also a part of the you wanted it more public to show off this relationship? What was the foundation of that?
I think so. I mean, I wanted both. I wanted the intimate wedding, but I also wanted the big wedding. I think, I wanted everyone to see, like, just, I don't know, you guys were there to witness our commitment to each other, our
Still
The
my favorite.
inclusion of, hey, you guys, we value you. Please come and see this awesome thing that we're doing.
That's
And
cool.
your
Value us.
Yeah,
We're
no.
valued. You're valued.
Yeah.
Valued.
We're valued. When I got invited, I was like, wow, I didn't realize we were that close,
It
but
was really-
dang,
yeah.
this is awesome. Because if you think back, it's like, I knew Reid just through work stuff and different things, but I didn't really know Jessi.
Yeah.
And I was like, the fact that Jessi wants us there is so awesome.
Do you think it goes back to your past, that inclusion?
Mhm.
Like you said you
Yeah.
had that support system. So that's meaningful to you. And oftentimes at a wedding or like a baby dedication, they talk about you're here to help hold them accountable. Do you think that was a part of it?
Yeah, I think so. I think we both have big families. Well, I mean, he has 2 families. So, the birth family and his adopted family. And we have a lot of really close friends.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of support too from a lot of people that we invited.
Yeah.
You do lose some friendships along the line. That happens for anybody as you get older and people kind of move apart and for whatever reason. But we're busy with having 3 kids and jobs and stuff, and for people
6. Three
for each of us to have 3 kids and for people to still want to hang out and be with us and be accepting if we're having to say no, we can't. You get asked out to go out for drinks and dinner, and no, we can't, and they, people
eventually they
still
stop
keep asking, and but a lot still do.
Well, and then you have friends like us who have 4, and it's just easier just to be like, all right, those of us with big families, let's just get together, because we know it's hard to invite a big family in with someone who's not used to that. Some people are like, oh, but so the beautiful part I want to end on is that through everything that y'all have been through, the love that the 2 of you share is so amazing. And not only that, but with the kids.
Yes.
And so at the wedding, at this big wedding, your daughter stands up and asks Reid to not only adopt her, but all 3 of your kids. So as someone who went through adoption, is adopted, all the things, like what was going through your mind, Reid, when she did that?
Eliza is never short for words, but she's not a, hey, look at me public type of person.
Yeah.
So she was the maid of honor, and she got up there and was doing her speech and was knocking it out of the park, and was kind of shifted over to me and was talking me up a little bit, and I thought it was great, and that she was going to wrap it up and everybody's going to clap and that would be it. But she had another little surprise for me. So
to interrupt you, but he in Eliza's speech, she talked about how she didn't really have much of a father figure growing up. I mean, he was there, but he wasn't really emotionally there or physically, I guess, a lot of the times too. But my grandpa was. And my grandpa was like my dad too, growing up. Quite possibly the most influential person in my life. And so with that said, and Eliza referring to it as well, he had some big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
With my grandpa. And she touched on that with her speech. And it just kind of goes into
I think you mentioned the word patriarch referring to me or something similar, but I had very early, after meeting Jessi and the family, really saw that with her grandpa Jim, very much so, that he was that for the family.
Yeah.
And it was not a question. He was the man.
Yeah.
And so for Eliza to even have a 0.5% comparison of me to him was pretty heavy too. Like I'm getting goosebumps under my sleeves here, thinking about her saying that and the meaning that carries.
And you guys, and within that, like there is deep-seated faith from both sides of your families. And so you got to see it, taste it, witness it, be a part of it, of having faith in both of your guys' upbringings. And so now within your own family, it's like to see how you guys are raising them under the roof, under God's protection, right? So it's like, I love how you guys are intertwining all of that, because the adoption is final. So that all 6 are yours, 7 now. But you guys recently called me, and I'm just, for the amount of, I became a minister, and you're the first people that reached out to me and asked if I would dedicate your sweet little baby, which means the world to me. And then not only that, but I also get to baptize your other one. And so 2 of your children, I get the honor. So thank you for that, because it's it's not a small deal. That you guys are following this continued faith life with your kids and making sure that regardless of anything they've gone through, that they center their world around Christ.
Yep.
And that is really a big deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that, like you said, you and I had a working relationship.
Yeah.
That was, very partially faith-based. And before the wedding, hadn't known Jessi too much, more than a few interactions, but there was just something there that it's like, we got to invite these guys.
Yeah.
We enjoyed hanging out with you, and there was something there, and it's led us to be in here speaking into these microphones today. And in a few days, we have a baptism
baptizing
for 2 of our children.
Our 2 boys in the home that we've made together.
Yeah.
And
all your family will be there to witness it. And God, it's it really is a beautiful story. And I grew up watching the Brady Bunch. And so that was a cool thing that you guys had that video at your wedding with the Brady Bunch and the actual even beginning with all the squares and people looking at each other. And so if there's a link to that, I would love to put that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Well,
I interrupted you
with this. Can we go back in time?
Oh, you want to read that quick?
Yeah. This was a thing. Again, this is the thing that Eliza gave to me during her speech that said, open me. So it's like, okay, I better do it. And then a microphone gets in front of my mouth and I don't know what's on this card. So everybody else is hearing it at the same time that I am. And so it says, Reid, you've been in our lives for quite some time now, and you've showed my siblings and I so much about what it means to be family. Love, support, trust, honesty, protection, and acceptance are the things that make a family, not being genetically related. You came into our lives and loved us unconditionally and chose us every single day, and now we get to choose you. Will you please officially be our dad from this point right now until forever? We love you, Dad.
Amazing.
So for her to think of this, to do it in front of 300 plus people, she's the queen of sarcasm, and this is the exact opposite of that. This is very emotional and came from her heart and soul.
It really did.
What a testimony to choosing life, to the adoption process, to overcoming obstacles, to being a role model to that.
Yeah. And she put in her siblings in there too, because she was getting close to being 18 years old at the time and, having future plans, and didn't have to ask that at all. Could have just kept going on as things happened. And we, did go through the adoption process and finalized that in March 15th of 2022. So we've already passed the year of it.
Oh, it's really beautiful. And you knew, right? Like you had the conversation beforehand with them?
Well, so Eliza actually took it upon herself to talk to her siblings first and ask them and make sure they were okay with it. And then she came to me and said, I want to do this. And then she wasn't really sure how she was going to do it. So she went to all the other bridesmaids too and asked their opinion, and they, kind of helped her figure out what to do. And it was perfect.
It's really beautiful, you guys. Thank you so much for sharing all that you have today with our audience and with us. You're a blessing to have in our lives. So thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much for listening. We want to change lives through this podcast. And if you want to support this podcast or our guests, please see the links below for our Patreon and giving links.
And like and subscribe, and also share our podcast as much as possible. Thank you.